Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today the New York Football Giants are in deep trouble. What are we talking about? Well, Saturday, the New York Giants had their second preseason game against the Houston Texans, and Daniel Jones, coming off of a torn ACL, this is the first time we've seen him on the football field, I believe since last October or November, if my memory serves correct. And he did not disappoint to have Twitter completely roast him for his performance. I'll go ahead and show you guys his stats. Now, you look at these stats on its face, and you're like, hey, 11 for 18, 138 yards, 2 picks. We don't like that, but, you know, at least he completed a good percentage of his passes. Well, I'll go ahead and show you guys this. I also want to point out, too, before I actually show you that, one of those picks was a pick six. And it was a pick six that if Daniel Jones would have held onto the ball and not thrown it, it would have been a safety. And it was a play that the broadcasters on the game were just saying, like, hey, Daniel Jones, you got to get rid of that ball. You cannot hold onto that ball to where that defender can go and pick off that pass, because that is you're a veteran quarterback now. You should know better than that, basically, was kind of the broadcast critique of that play. But this is from a Houston Texans reporter. This is Daniel Jones' splits in that game. Versus some Texans starters, Daniel Jones was 2 for 6, 18 yards, and 2 interceptions, including that pick six that we just described. Versus the backups, Daniel Jones, 9 of 12, 120 yards. So you can look at this, if you're going to look at this as the half glass full version for Daniel Jones. If you're going to be one of the 3 or 4 Daniel Jones defenders on the internet, or if you're going to be a New York Giants diehard defender, always going to support your team, always going to support your guys, absolutely through thick and thin, no matter what, this is what you would say about that. You'd say, hey, Daniel Jones, first time playing off of a torn ACL, you don't know all of the mental toll that takes, being afraid to get hit. As he got adjusted and more comfortable during the game, that's when you started to see him complete a higher percentage of his passes. You could also say, too, coming off of a torn ACL, hey, he's knocking off some rust. He's, when you look at guys that are coming off of torn ACLs, not everyone's 2011 Adrian Peterson, 2012 Adrian Peterson. Saquon Barkley, he was not the best after tearing his ACL, but the year after coming back from the ACL, when that injury is like 2 years in the rearview mirror, Saquon Barkley had arguably his best year as a New York Giant. Could you say that? Or at least the New York Giants' best year was Saquon Barkley. That's what that year was in 2022. He helped carry the Giants to the playoffs, in my opinion. So if you're a Daniel Jones defender, you could say, hey, maybe the first few weeks of the season and preseason, he's just going to be knocking off some rust. And as the season progresses, we might see Daniel Jones be a little bit better. If not, next season he will come back and he'll basically be back to normal Daniel Jones. The only problem with that logic is this is a do or die for Daniel Jones. It is either you prove that you are a franchise quarterback this year, prove that you can put up at least decent numbers and show potential that you can help the New York Giants win games, or actually help the New York Giants win games. If you can't do either of those two things, they're going to kick you to the curb. Joe Shane said so this offseason. He's like, hey, Daniel Jones can't get it done. If he can't prove that he's a franchise guy, we're moving on. Because we don't have time to waste here in year 5, 6 for Daniel Jones for this guy to figure it out. Because this is like year 6 right now for Daniel Jones. Year 5 or 6, I can't remember off the top of my head. Like, you got to figure this stuff out now. You can't be throwing those dumb pick sixes anymore. You can't be careless with the football anymore. You got to be better on your decision making. You got a good offensive coach in Brian Daboll. They fortified the offensive line. They didn't trade. They drafted Malik Neighbors for you. There's no excuses for Daniel Jones. This is the year. This is his year. And if this keeps happening where he is going to be this bad, again, 2 for 6 against the starters, or some starters, as it said in the tweet I just showed you, it's going to be a rough year for Daniel Jones. And this is where I feel bad for Daniel Jones a little bit, because Daniel Jones, let's go back 5 years. Let's go to NFL Draft Night 2019. Daniel Jones, when he got drafted 6th by the Giants, was an absolute shock. It was an absolute jaw-dropping shock. Because, one, we thought if the Giants, well, one, it was shocking the Giants were going to take a quarterback. We thought if they were going to take a quarterback, they're going to take Dwayne Haskins, RIP. Then it was just shocking that they took Daniel Jones because most people thought Daniel Jones was going to be a second-round pick. And that's what his career's been. He's been a second-round pick. A guy that, like, if you're taking a guy in the second round, this is what kind of like a draft analyst would say. It's like, hey, best case scenario, this guy can be a average at best starter, but more than likely how his career is going to turn out is he's going to be a backup or an above average backup. Maybe, again, I know that you can point out the exceptions of guys that have been in the second round and they've, been very good. Jalen Hurts is one of them, but usually the guys that are the true franchise guys that you're drafting with the 6th pick in the draft, the guys like J.J. McCarthy, Justin Fields, guys that are really high. Michael Penix got drafted pretty high this year. You want those guys to be franchise guys. And Daniel Jones, at least what we've seen so far in his career, hasn't really proven that. So if he is going to keep up this poor play in the preseason when teams aren't playing, their full-time starters and aren't, keying in on, a lot of people say that all of these defenses are very vanilla and they don't want to give away any sort of strategies that they might deploy in the regular season. If you can't succeed in that, then I have it's hard for me to wrap my head around the Giants being successful in the regular season with Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback. So if I'm a New York Giants fan, I'd start watching some Saturdays. Maybe watch Texas with Quinn Ewers, Colorado with Shedeur Sanders. I really like Carson Beck on Georgia because you guys might be starting one of those 3 guys or maybe some other college guy that I can't think of off the top of my head next year for your team because this might be Daniel Jones last year playing quarterback for the New York Giants. So there you have it, guys. Giants fans, sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about Daniel Jones. Let me know what you think about that preseason performance. Am I off base here? Am I spot on? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know what you think. If you got this far in the video, though, you're a real one. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button if you liked what you saw here today. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. That is the best way to help this show grow. It is the best way to support a small channel like this. It is the only way for us to grow in the algorithm and for more people to see my content. And if you like this video too, feel free to check out the rest of the Sports Detective Podcast channel page. You might find some other videos in there that you like. So thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.